Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be giving a video presentation on what I believe makes a good teacher. For my first slide, I have communication and listening because I believe that those two things are very important when it comes to being a good teacher. Communication is important because you are going to want to communicate with your whole team, which a team consists of the students, the families, admin, maybe peers that work with you, and just anybody around the school. Those are all people that are going to be considered part of your team. And as a teacher, you should be communicating so that way you're able to build up your team and so people know what's going on, or if you need help with something you should be able to communicate that to admin, so that way in return they could give you the support that you need. Another important thing is listening. To be a good teacher, I believe you have to be a good listener because the students are going to be talking to you and they're going to be telling you what's going on. And as a teacher, you should really be engaged with them and listening to what they're saying. Also, you want to make sure that you are approachable for those conversations that people might have, whether it be classroom aides, students, parents. Whenever someone has an important conversation, you should be making time to have those conversations. And when it is time for the conversations, it should be somewhere that's maybe not filled with traffic, maybe like a nice quiet area where you could really engage in the conversation and they will know that you're really listening to what they're saying. For my next slide, I feel like collaboration is very important when you're a teacher because you are going to be collaborating probably almost every day with your students about what's going on in the class. You're going to be collaborating with your classroom aides, also with admin. And when you collaborate with somebody, you're really putting your ideas together and figuring something out. Collaborating is a lot different than communicating because when you collaborate, you're really taking their input to make a change to something else. And it's really going to make your job easier if you are good at collaborating because students want to have input with what's going on in the classroom. If you notice that maybe a lesson's not really working or something's just not really engaging the students, you can ask them, like, what's going on? Like, what do you guys like? What do you think would be fun? And then taking their input and actually making that into a lesson or including what they said is a great example of collaboration. Collaborating with admin is also very important because when something is going on in the classroom that's maybe you're having a lot of challenging behaviors, you should collaborate with the office or whatever department it is that would support you in that, so that way you guys will come together as a team and throw your ideas, your thoughts out there and figure out a solution to help make your classroom better. Two important qualities that I really believe a good teacher should have is empathy and respect. You should have empathy for your students because in reality, you don't know exactly what they go through at home. You don't know what's going on at home. You don't know their socioeconomic status. You don't know maybe if they didn't get enough sleep the night before. Maybe they don't have a bed to sleep on. Maybe they don't even have a home. So empathy, when you have empathy for a student, they will be able to feel that. And then in return, it'll feel like your classroom's a safe space for them, you're a safe adult for them. And some students might not have that outside of the school. So it's really important to have empathy for your students. Be understanding of what these kids might be going through, whether it be elementary school, middle school, high school. You should always be empathetic towards them, for them, because you, like I said before, you might be the only person that they have. And you want to make sure that you are leaving a lasting impression for these kids, make them feel safe to come to school. And also, respect is very important. I really believe that you have to give respect in order to receive respect. I've seen before many times in elementary where teachers are just talking down to the students, and in return, the students are talking back to them as well because there's no respect going on right there. Even though, you may be teaching a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, these little kids, they are still people, and they still understand what's going on. They still know what you're trying to imply to them, and when you show them respect, they will show you respect in return. A very important quality for a good teacher to have is also patience. When you are a teacher, I'm not trying to scare you, but your patience is going to be tested. Maybe not every day, but pretty often it's going to be tested. And I've included this little picture right here that kind of shows chaos happening in the classroom, which doesn't necessarily, I haven't seen it happen exactly like that, but I've seen things similar. So hopefully none of your classrooms actually look like this, because that's a sign of classroom management gone wrong. And it's funny because the picture says, I can't believe I got an advanced degree for this. Yes, sometimes that may be the case. And it's important to have patience because for your students, everybody is different. They have different styles of learning. They have Some may take longer to complete tasks, some may not understand it the same way. So, whenever you have those students that aren't catching onto a lesson or a work assignment that everyone else has already passed and everyone else has done, if you have those students that need more time, have patience with them, offer them the support that they may need, because like I said before, you don't really know what's going on with these students. Maybe the student hasn't slept, maybe the student hasn't ate, there might be something else going on. So have patience, figure out what's going on, and from there you can move forward. I also want to mention, when you kind of lose control of yourself, it might bring more challenging behaviors than what you originally started with. Students will feed off of your energy, and if they do something wrong and you lose control and you're just upset about it, it might escalate things and make something bigger than what already started. So, when you have patience, it will ultimately decrease those challenging behaviors. Being prepared is also something that's very important to be a good teacher. When you are prepared, it means that you have your lesson plans done, you have your assignments for the day, and it will ultimately help your classroom management and keep the students on task doing what they're supposed to do. If you're not prepared, then that's when students start getting bored, students start acting out, they start doing other stuff to keep themselves busy because there's nothing else for them to do. So whenever you start your day, make sure you know exactly what's going to be happening. Make sure you have a schedule up, you have your materials for the schedule. If you're doing an art assignment, make sure you have everything organized and prepared so that way those lessons can go by very smoothly. When you're prepared, it also causes less stress on you as a teacher, because let's face it, if you've worked in a school setting, you know how stressful teaching can really be. And when you're prepared, it takes away some of that stress. And what else? Being prepared also shows that you're ready to teach, you're ready to get the students engaged, you're ready to answer their questions. You have more time to do whatever it is you need to do during those lessons rather than prepping everything out. As a good teacher, you need to be willing to build relationships. You're going to be working with your students every day, and you're going to see them maybe majority of the day, depending on which grade level you are. But even if you only have your students for a period, you should get to know your students. Figure out who you're teaching, what do they like, what kind of things interest them, what don't they like. When you build relationships, it's a way of showing that you care about the students, and in return they're going to feel cared about and they're going to respect you. You're going to make their time in class more enjoyable than a teacher who only is there maybe to just get paid, I don't know, maybe a student goes in, leaves without even really having a conversation with the teacher. You don't want to do that. To be a good teacher, you want to be able to talk to all of your students. You should be able to tell somebody coming in, maybe a sub's coming in for you. You should be able to give them a rundown of those certain students who maybe have lots of triggers, or maybe there's something that's very specific to a lot of the students in your class. You want to be able to share that information. Also, build relationships with your peers. Figure out who are they, have conversations, maybe during lunch periods, passing periods, whenever there's combined periods, have conversations with them, because when you're building relationships with their peers, that's building your team, and that's giving you another person who maybe you can vent to, because no one is going to know what's going on in your classroom, in your school, more than somebody else that works there. And sometimes all you need to do is just have a friend to talk to about what's going on, and it might take a little bit of that stress off of you. And maybe they will be able to give you some feedback to help. So it's always great to build relationships and have more friends. As a good teacher, you are willing to be a lifelong learner. And by lifelong learner, what I am talking about is that be open to changes that happen, changes that occur, because they're really happening every day. An example of this is when I was in elementary school, I learned math, did really well, understood it. And then now I have a kindergartner and a second grader. And this is around the time when I learned of something new called Common Core Math, which when they first started bringing home their homework, I was like, what is this? I have no idea. I don't even know how to explain this to you. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. So from there, I started reading their book, learning, and I'm like, I just don't understand. It's still hard for me, but for my kids, this is how the only way they've learned so far. So for them, it's easy to do now. But it's not only math that changes, technology changes. Um, Before, I remember I used to do all of my work assignments with a paper and pen or pencil. And now, when I go into these schools, everyone has their Chromebooks, everyone has ready to learn programs, different things that kind of support the teachers to kind of keep kids advancing. It kind of tells the teacher where they're at in the curriculum and what they have trouble with, what they need help with, which is a great tool. But for maybe someone who's been teaching for, I don't know, a long time, like 20 plus years, this new technology, when it came out, I'm sure they weren't fans of it. But after you learn how to use the stuff, it's really here to help you and support you in the classroom. So make sure you're ready to be a lifelong learner, because changes do happen.